Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas 88, Tybura versus Tuivasa. First things first, hit that subscribe button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on TikTok, over on Instagram, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. I'll be honest with you, this card kind of sucks. It blows. It's not good at all. It's hard to bet. Not a lot of that. There's not that many great fights. There's only like three that I truly care about. But we're MMA junkies. We're gonna go through it. And that's just it comes with the territory. I mean, you should have a bad card when you had one hell of a banger last week. Man, oh man, started off the night with a glory play, hitting JoJo Calderwood at like plus 800, plus 900. I don't remember what it was. Also had her on the money line. We hit all our dog picks. We hit all of our locks with Gamrot scared me a little bit. Hit all of our locks, hit all of our round totals. It was a profitable night. Went 12 of 14 on all of the fights, and it was just one of the best nights of the year, to be honest with you. So you go from that high of highs, winning money, fun fight card, pay-per-view, to this shit. But hey, it is what it is. This shit is free, so I'm never gonna be one to complain about a free card. This one made me think about it for a split second, but hey, what it is what it is. As long as you make money, it's a good card. So we're looking to do so here. So let's go ahead and just start with the very first fight of the night. We're looking at Chad Allinger at plus 140, going up against Charlampos Hirigorio at minus 165. Over under sitting at 1.5, and it actually changed to 2.5. I believe it's just a straight pick 'em, but I know the over 1.5 is minus 220, under 1.5 plus 170. Let's start with Chad Anheliger, because he's not very good. He's a 37-year-old bantamweight. He's coming off of Dana White Contender Series. Well, not coming off of. He's had a few fights in the UFC, but he's from Dana White Contender Series. He's gonna have a 3.5 inch reach advantage here, which is nice. But he's just honestly a generalist. He doesn't really do anything great, but he doesn't do anything poorly. He has a 47% takedown defense. That's probably the worst part of his game. And he is a little hittable, to be honest with you. His jujitsu, honestly, I don't know what I'm saying. Offensively, he's a generalist. Defensively, he's a liability with his takedown defense. He's a little hittable, and he has 7 career losses, and I think 5 or 6 are by submission. Jose Johnson sub, Alateng went to decision, submission. Jesus. Yeah, 5 of his 7 losses are by submission. So he's a little bit of a liability on the ground, a little bit of liability on the feet in regards to getting hit. But he's dishing them out too. The best part of his game is cardio. He's a cardio freak. He does not get tired. It doesn't matter that he's 37 years old. He goes and he goes and he goes. I mean, you just look at his wins. He has a round 3 win against Jesse Strader, a split decision win on the Contender Series as he took over late in the round. Fight before that, he beat Brady Highstand in the 3rd round. He beat this Craig guy in the 3rd round. Like, he has a whole bunch of 2nd and 3rd round finishes. So he's just a cardio machine. That's all he does. He's not great anywhere, but he will not stop. He is a dog. And what I do like about him is that although he's just not physically talented, he generally comes in with good game plans. Jose Johnson has like a 30% takedown defense. He came out and he got 4 takedowns against him, and that's not generally his game. He usually wants to strike. We saw just Brady Highstand. He did everything the sprawl and brawl. Mooing, he weathered the storm and then took over late. Like, he does everything right. He comes in with good game plans. He's just physically not able to do it. He's just not it's just not his physical nature. On the other side, we have Gregorio, who honestly I liked a lot in Contender Series against Smotherman. I bet him in that matchup. He came out there and got a really quick knockout. It was a minute flat into the fight, so that looked great. And then I went back and I re-watched his fight tape. I don't think I liked Gregorio. I think I just hated Smotherman's tape because Gregorio's is not good. It was not impressive whatsoever. Again, this is his first fight after getting the contract on Dana White Contender Series. He trains at a great camp at Serra Longo MMA. His cardio is okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It checks out. But his jujitsu, I thought would be better being at Serra Longo. It's not that great. He's more of a striker, and he will mix in his wrestling from time to time. I'm sorry, he's going to have the 3.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup, not Anheliger. But his wins, man, they're not good. I mean, they're against again. I thought Smotherman was a fraud, and he got fraud checked. He got knocked out in a minute. Outside of that, he beat a guy that was 6-5, 2-5, 3-0, 0-2, 2-1, 0-0, 0-2. Like no one outside of his contender series fight and the guy before that had a winning record, and that guy was 6-5. He barely had a winning record. And he's fought some guys like Christian Rodriguez is good. We'll talk about him later on the card, but that was in 2021. So Christian Rodriguez was a young kid. Like Rodriguez was like 21, 22 years old. And outside of that, he just really it's not good. He lost to a guy that was, let's see, 0-3 in his second career fight. That's not a good look. I don't know, man. I think this guy is a little overrated, to be honest with you. He's also a generalist. Okay, striking, okay, wrestling, okay, jujitsu. He's really cocky, though. Like, he taunts a lot in his fights. I'm not a big fan of that. Then this is debut. I do see this being a setup for Anheliger. I think they want to cut him. That's what I think this is at the end of the road. He's a 37-year-old bantamweight. But I think he's gonna fuck the UFC's plans up, and I think he wins this fight. I think it's gonna be a decision. I think it goes the distance. If anything, I'm just betting the over. I could definitely see a split decision happening in this matchup, 110%. I might actually look that way and see what the split is when those odds come out. But I do see this hitting the over. I think it goes the distance. And if anyone, I'm taking the savvy vet to teach the newcomer a lesson. So the pick is going to be Anheliger. The bet's going to be Anheliger at dog money, or you can just take the over. Next fight of the night, we have Corey McKenna at -125 going against Jacqueline Almarine at +105. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 is -195. Under 2.5 at +150. Let's go ahead and start with Corey McKenna because she's someone that I was high on to an extent. I wasn't high on her. I thought she was pretty good. Until I went back and watched the tape and realized she's not as good as I thought. She's another one where I thought I liked her more than what I saw on film. She's 24 years old, so she's only going to get better. It's hard to judge her now. She could be good later on, but she has little T-Rex arms. Has a very, very, very small reach. 58.5-inch reach. That has to be the smallest in the UFC. Also, she's a lot more hittable. I thought her striking was better than it was. Her striking's not that good. It's all right. She's training with Macy Barber every day, so it's probably getting better. She does have good cardio, but she generally wants to wrestle. She wants to take you down and ground and pound, or take you down and tap you out. Like, she wants to play on the ground. I mean, she trains a Team Alpha Male, for God's sake. Like, they are a wrestle heavy camp. She wants to go out there and wrestle. But looking back, man, she dominated Cheyenne Blissmas, which was interesting. But before that, the Miranda Granger fight, whatever. It is what it is. Miranda's not very good. Elise Reed lost. It says split, but she got her ass kicked in England. She was the hometown girl. I remember betting her that night, and she got absolutely smoked by Elise Reed, which was not good. And then the Kay Hansen fight shows a win, but it was pretty damn close. It was very, very greasy. And I personally thought Kay Hansen won. So I've seen her taken down and dominated. And that's what concerns me. She's not great striking, and Kay Hansen was able to take her down, slap on that body triangle, and kind of dominate on the ground. And that's not good because she's fighting Jacqueline Amarine. Amarine is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in this weight class. World-class jiu-jitsu, ACD. I always say ACDC. ADC world champion. She's gonna have a 10-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Again, but jujitsu is her ground. It's her bread and butter. It's sneaking good on the feet. I was disappointed in McKenna's stand up, but Amrit is not bad. She just doesn't want to do that because she's a world class jujitsu practitioner. I understand that. Go to where you're comfortable, but if she is forced to stand, I think she might low key be the better striker. She's definitely more physically imposing. She's very strong. She has a quick knockout on her record before the UFC. She knocked out Megan Owen in 10 seconds. Yeah, like she has the capability of doing so. She's had a great camp with American Top Team. They always have great game plans. Her wrestling's okay. It's not great. It's kind of like that jujitsu wrestling. They'll get you down after a while, but they're not super efficient with it. But they'll find a way down there. And I've seen her pull guard in her last matchup against whatchamacallit, Maserat Ruiz. She couldn't take her down in the second round momentarily, so she just pulled guard and then swept her. Like she's very comfortable off her back. She's definitely the better jujitsu girl. I think she's the better striker, but she has no cardio, man. We saw her gas out in her one career loss to Sam Hughes. She is a gas bag. And when you go back and you look at her record, round one finish, 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 round one finish. She's never won a fight outside of the first round until her last fight, where she was pacing herself. And that was Maserat Ruiz. Now, don't get me wrong, she had Maserat in some crazy arm bars and some crazy head and arm chokes. Like Maserat should have been submitted, but she refused to say no. But if you put McKenna in that same circumstance, she's going to finish McKenna. And honestly, I've seen McKenna get put in rear naked chokes against Kay Hansen. That fight screwed me up. That fight really scared me. I was on McKenna until I saw that fight. And I was mainly on her because I saw McKenna fight Vanessa Demopoulos, who was just a jiu-jitsu girl. So we've seen this matchup before, and McKenna did go out there and get a win. But I think Vanessa Demopoulos is great on the ground, but she is not Jacqueline Amorim, and she is not. I mean, Vanessa's very strong, but Amarine knows how to use it better. She'll have a better game plan. She's the better wrestler. I don't know, man. I don't know what McKenna's going to do. If she takes her down, she's in trouble. If she keeps it on the feet, she's in trouble. I don't know. I think this is Amarine. I think this is a clear dog or pass. And if anything, I might be staring that under down. If Jacqueline death gasses, she's awfully durable. She showed it in the Sam Hughes fight. Maybe she can go the distance, but I think she subs McKenna, or she death gasses and McKenna's able to actually get the job done, unlike Sam Hughes, who's not a finisher. Either way, that under hit. So the pick is going to be Jacqueline. The bet's going to be either her, or honestly, I can see the under hitting. Okay. Next fight of the night is another one I've gone back and forth with. We have Joshua Cooleybow at minus 190 going up against Danny Silva at plus 160. Over under a smooth 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 210. Under 2.5 at plus 160. Let's start with Josh Cooleybow. He's kind of growing on me, to be honest with you. He has a 3-inch reach advantage here. He has the UFC experience. It's Danny's debut. He has a 72% takedown defense. It's his offense that's the problem. 0% takedown accuracy in the UFC. I think he shot he's on paper showing like 14 shots or something like that. Some of these stats are weird. Like, I wouldn't consider some of these half shots. He took actual attempts to take you down. But needless to say, he's gotten 0, even the serious ones. So the dude can't wrestle offensively. It's okay defensively. I wish he could wrestle offensively, because he has a good ground game on him. He is a jiu-jitsu black belt. And I saw him on the ground a few times, and God, when he took down Melsick, he hopped on that rear naked choke. Like, he showed how good he is on the ground. And on the feet, he's got some crack in those hands, man. He can crack. He has some power behind him. The biggest problem with Josh is his volume, man. He doesn't throw. He throws like 2.7 significant strikes per minute. That's not going to cut it in this weight class. Like, if he threw, this dude could potentially be like a top 15 guy. But I think his volume is going to be the thing to hold him back, because he doesn't throw. He's usually getting hit more than he's dishing out. It's not that he's easy to hit or very hittable or anything. It's that he throws so little. It's kind of easy to double him up. Melsick was doing it. Lerone Murphy took him down a few times. We saw Jalen Turner dismantle him, but that was up a weight class on short notice. So I'll give him a pass there. The Sungwoo Choi fight is the one where I really was like, okay, this guy's the real deal. He does slow down a touch. He doesn't gas, but he does slow down a little. So his cardio and his volume are his biggest trouble spots, and of his offensive wrestling. So yeah, his biggest problems are his cardio and his volume, and that's not a good combo. I think the chin and cardio is the worst combo to have, but not having good volume isn't good, especially against Danny Silva, because that's all he has. You'll hear it time and time again from every podcaster. The dude threw like 205 strikes in his Dana White Contender Series fight. The most Josh threw was like 50. So 205 compared to 50 is quite a difference here. Now, don't get me wrong, this is his debut. It's his first fight in the UFC. Throws a ton of volume. Good cardio. That's the other thing. To throw that much, you have to have good cardio. I have seen him mix in wrestling and secure some takedowns, but his only career loss, he was continually taken down. So I've seen his takedown defense look good. I've seen it look bad. So to me, I think that's attributed to his level of competition. Angel Pacheco's okay, but he's not really a wrestler by any means. Um, Kowali or whoever whatever I watched, the dude from kept losing on Contender Series. He's all right. He's not the greatest, but his wrestling was enough to take down Danny and control him. Outside of that, these guys he's fighting are all what do you have? 4-0. We have a 2-3, 0-2, 2-0, 3-6, 0-0. Like it's not the greatest level of competition. So yeah, he'll go out there and he'll mix in takedowns. Yes, he'll go out there and he'll essentially knock you out or just throw a ton of volume at you and brawl. But that's kind of what he is. He's a brawler. He doesn't really kick at all. He just goes forward, gets in your face, pressures you, and boxes. And Josh is good fighting off the back foot. Like I think Josh is the more technical guy, but Danny throws so much more. So to me, oh no. Danny's going to want to be in a phone booth and Josh is not. Josh can't take him down, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if Josh just cracks him and puts him down because Danny just goes in there and brawls. So at the end of the day, I'll pick Josh. I'll side with Vegas. I'll side with the UFC vet and the ones where I'm 50-50. I think it's going to be close. Uh, this money line, I don't really want to trust Josh that money line. This sounds crazy. I think it's gonna be a split. I think it's gonna be a split to cool him. I don't think it's gonna be Silva. I think they're gonna see the quality shots. I think he probably even gets a knockdown at some point in this fight. And I think it's gonna come down to Josh and like a knockdown and low volume, but the better shots, opposed to Danny, who doubled him up. This has split written all over it. I'll pick Josh. I'll bet Josh. And honestly, I might get crazy and do Josh by split, but I think it's just gonna end up being Josh by decision. That's how I would bet this. Next fight of the night, I kind of pussied out in regards to picking Danny Silva, but I will not against with Mitch Ramirez as a plus 285 dog. Tiago Moises as a minus 360 favorite. Over under not out yet as Mitch is a late notice replacement. So let's start with Tiago Moises. Tiago Moises is good. He has really, really good jiu-jitsu. That's where he shines. He's only 28 years old and improving. His striking is what's really improving. Initially, it was pretty bad, but over the years, man, I've seen it look better and better and better. The time I noticed it was his win against Jared Gordon. It wasn't Jared Gordon. It was Alexander Hernandez. My apologies. That's when I really saw him shine. His jab got really good. I know he got absolutely dismantled by Benoit Saint Denis, but he fired back in some spots and looked pretty decent on the feet. You see constant improvement in the stand up. So he's a pretty decent striker now. Again, world class jiu-jitsu, a ton of leg locks. He loves to do leg locks. His wrestling's not bad. It's gotten better. Always good game plans coming from ATT. Decent cardio. It's not good. I've seen him slow, but I've also seen him go hard for 3 rounds. He has a little bit of lower volume. I wish he threw a little more. And he's a little hittable at times. The other thing I don't like is that he has 56% takedown defense. That's not a good stat. Part of that is because he wants to go to the ground because he's a jiu-jitsu guy. But he'd prefer to be on top on the ground. So I don't know. All in all, he's a generalist, just like other people on this card. He's not bad anywhere, but he's not great anywhere. The best thing he's at is jujitsu. But the thing he does have that makes him unbettable for me is quit. He will quit. I saw him quit against BSD. I saw him quit against Joel Alvarez because he's a little chinny, man. It's not even that he's going out there and quitting per se. It's that he doesn't know where the fuck he is. He gets rocked all the time. We saw him rocked against Benoit Saint Denis and then ultimately put out. We saw him rocked and ultimately put out against Joel Alvarez. Alexander Hernandez hurt him early. Bobby Green beat the shit out of him. And they somehow gave him the win, but he was falling all over the place against Bobby Green, and he does not hit hard. Michael Johnson really had him dancing silly. It was like a 10-7 round in round one, and then he snatched up a leg lock early in the round two. Like, I've seen this guy rocked so many times. Even some fights he won, he had not the slightest clue where he was. That concerns me. He's a little chinny, and when he gets all disoriented, it's not that he's giving up per se, he just gets overwhelmed. You can can overwhelm this dude. Like his striking's gotten better, but he likes to fight clean. He likes to throw jabs. He likes to throw some head kicks. He likes to just stick and move, stick and move. And if you're an absolute dog, you can just march him forward and make him quit and put him out. And that's how Mitch Ramirez fights, man. He's not great on the feet, to be honest with you. I thought he was better than he was, but he hits extremely hard, and all he does is move forward. He doesn't take a step backwards. He just marches forward and forward. He's got that dog in him, man. This dude is gonna march you down. Utilize his wrestling, which is pretty good. I think it could be better on the it looks better on the regional scene than it will be in the UFC. But at the end of the day, he wants to march you down, hit you hard. He's at Syndicate MMA, which is a pretty decent camp, and he wants to take you down. He wants this on the ground. His jiu-jitsu's okay. It's not great. Moises will definitely have a heavy advantage there, but he's going to be on his back. And Mitch is a wet blanket on top, man. Mitch also spent a lot of time at 170, and this fight's at 155. Okay. So at this juncture, it is Ramirez on short notice making his debut. He's a little hittable when he just marches forward and pressures you. But you know who else is that has the same fight style that marches forward, gets punched in the face all the time, has okay wrestling, and just hits extremely hard and just pressures you to death and breaks you. Benoit Saint Denis. I'm not saying Mitch Ramirez is Benoit Saint Denis, but I'm telling you he fights and slows down a little. It's a little suspect cardio. They fight the exact same way. You know who Moises' last fight was against? Benoit Saint Denis, and he got broken. Benoit Saint Denis broke him, and now we have the same exact matchup. We have knockoff Aldi version of Benoit Saint Denis, but he's almost plus 300. I am not betting Thiago Moises at minus. Actually, he was minus 410, and Mitch was plus 300 at this point. It's straight dogger pass. I don't think Mitch is very good. I actually think Mitch kind of sucks, but he has the perfect style to beat Thiago Moises, and styles make fights. So the pick is going to be Mitch. The bet's going to be Mitch. Put your balls on the table. Next fight of the night, just leave those balls there. We have Ode Osborne at plus 150 going up against Rafael Fiolo at minus 180. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 160. Under 2.5 at minus 210. Let's start with Fiolo because he's another one where I initially saw it and went, "Oh my God, this is a great line for him." Watch the fight tape, and he's not that great, man. I don't know what is going on this card where I thought these people were better than they are. He's 30 years old. This is going to be his third fight in the UFC. He has okay striking. It's not good. It's not bad. It's serviceable. He has okay wrestling. It's wrestling. It's jujitsu wrestling. Not very good. He has zero setups. That's the thing I noticed. He shoots them really far away. He only shoots blast doubles and singles. Only folk style wrestling. And it is very telegraphed. It's not very good, to be honest with you. But once he gets you down, he's world class on the ground. This dude will sub you the moment you hit the ground. It's good. He's very good on the ground. His takedown defense is trash at 55%, but I think that's by design because again, he wants to put you on the ground. If he looks familiar, he's the guy that snapped Muhammad Makayev's leg in half, and Makayev refused to tap. That was this guy. Even Makayev, who is a black belt on the ground, and he took him down, and he damn near most men would have tapped. He literally ripped Makayev's knee. He just refused to tap. But this guy is dangerous on the ground, straight danger. The thing with him, though, is you can back him up, and he's a very slow starter. We saw it his Contender Series fight. He lost the first round. We saw it in the fight against Makayev. He lost the first round. We saw it in his UFC win against Daniel Barres. Was losing the first round before he came back and won. The dude starts very, very slow. And he's low-key chinny. He's been submitted before by Makayev, of course. And he got submitted by Luan Matheus, but Bruno Correa is not a bad fighter. He was able to take him out. He's never been knocked out, but he's one of these guys with like that Usman chin where you know what's going to happen, especially to the body. He hates when you touch his body. There's something going on there. He absolutely hates it. His schedule's okay. He's beat people in the UFC prior to, like Vinicius Salvador. He's not a bad fighter. It's just his striking is not. I thought he was a great jiu-jitsu practitioner and a decent striker and a good striker. He's not. He's a serviceable striker. And some of these guys on the UFC level, it's just not good enough. And his wrestling's not good enough at all. His wrestling, It's an okay blast double. That's all he's got. It's just he's got to figure out how to set it up, and he's got to figure out, oh God, not to shoot so damn far away. On the other side, we have Ode Osborne. I don't know, man. I think he's kind of overrated. A lot of people like Ode. I don't think he's that great. First and foremost, he's a bantamweight. He's not a flyweight. He keeps dropping down to 125, and I think he looks worse here. I think he looked better at 135. He also trains at Syndicate. A lot of Syndicate this white guard. He has a 5-inch reach advantage because again, he's a little bit of a size bully. He has okay jujitsu. He's been subbed a lot, but he also has a lot of submissions. So I don't know what's going on there. Like he's good offensively, defensively, he's a liability. Carries a ton of power. He has a whole bunch of knockouts on his record. He hits decently hard. He's fought a pretty good schedule thus far, fighting Tyson Nam and fighting Charles Johnson, Asu Amabayev, who we just saw last week, CJ Vergara, who we saw last week, Manel Kopp. Like these are pretty decent names here. Problem with him is that he has 68% takedown defense. It's not the worst, but I wish it was a little better. I think his takedown defense is good enough for Filo, though. But his chin is not. He's very chinny. He's been knocked out quite a bit. We saw him submitted by a Sue. Tyson Nam knocked him out. Manel Kopp knocked him out. He's been wobbled a bunch of times on the regional scene. Like, you can knock this dude out. You can also submit him, and he starts really fast, which is good because Filo starts very slow. So Odin's going to come out here and look dominant to start, and then he will gas out. That's the other problem. His cardio, not good, especially at 125. No, not good at all. We saw him gas out against CJ Vergara and sneak out the win. We saw him gas out with Charles Johnson and sneak out a win. He cannot go a whole 15 at 125. He gasses out, and you just need. I know Charles Johnson was very, very sick when he fought and was not his normal energetic self, and he still was on par with Ode's cardio. Ode has bad cardio. A bad chin and bad cardio is a terrible combination. But again, Ode starts fast. Filo starts slow. Ode great on the feet with some power. Filo low key a little. He's hittable. You can hurt this guy. You can definitely hurt him. Uh, I don't know, man. I think it's Ode, but I don't trust it. Because if Filo survives round one, it's just his wrestling. I don't think is good enough to take down Ode. They're forced to strike. I think he gets hurt. I want to put my balls on the table and pick Ode or bet Ode. I'll pick Ode, but I can't bet it. What I'm going to do is just play it safe, and I'm going to bet the under 2.5. It's steamed. It's minus 210 for this flyweight under, but it is what it is. It's safer. Both men can finish either guy, and I don't see this going the distance. So the pick is Ode, but the bet's going to be the under 2.5. Next fight of the night, I might fuck around with another under 2.5. We have women's MMA. We got Josiane Nunez at minus 155 going up against Chelsea Chandler at plus 130. Over 2.5 at minus 140, under 2.5 at plus 110. Let's start with Nunez because she is not a true bantamweight. She's spent a lot of time fighting at 145. I have no idea how. She's 5'2" for fuck's sake. Like, she is a strawweight. She just doesn't want to cut weight. She's extremely small. She's a little broad, and she has these crazy arm length, kind of like Volk. Like, you look at Volk compared to Max, and you're flabbergasted when you hear that Volk has a longer reach. Same with Josiane Nunez, man. Her arms are freakishly long. They like come down to her ankles. Her striking, I want to say, is good. It's the best part of her game, but it's not. It's okay. She throws everything wild, just wild hooks. That's basically all she throws. Her power's okay. She's knocked out some people, but mainly on the regional scene. She's mainly knocked out soccer moms on the regional scene. Look at their records. Owen, well, she lost to Tyler Santos in Tyler's debut. She didn't know what she was getting into there. But she's knocked out people that were 1-3, 0-7, 1-0, 0-1, 3-0, 4-0, and then Bam Malecki was 2-0, and she sucks and has been cut. Ramona Pascal went 0-3 in the UFC. She's 5-2, and then Zara Farron has gone 0-3 in the UFC, and she's 6-4. So I don't know where her good win is. She has 0. She fought one good girl. Honestly, Tyler Santos is good, but she fought her in her debut and she got absolutely dismantled. Her jiu-jitsu is terrible. She throws a ton of volume. It's not very good striking, but she throws a ton of volume. I'll give her that. She hits okay in regards to power, but her jiu-jitsu trash. Her takedown defense reads 70%, but it's sketchy. Ramona Pasquale took her down 3 times. Ramona cannot wrestle. So yeah, she can't really wrestle. She can't really strike. And she has terrible jujitsu. She's too small for the weight class. I don't really. She's just fought a bad level of competition, hands down. And it's not stopping here because Chelsea Chandler is not good. Chelsea Chandler herself doesn't have a record to write home about. She's 5-2, nothing crazy. I will give her that her jujitsu is good. She trains over at Caesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which is with the Diaz Bros. I believe she's from Stockton, California. So you think of the Diaz Bros, you want to know what the girls look like there. Here's Chelsea Chandler, baby. Again, good jujitsu. Like the Diaz Bros, her wrestling's trash. Her striking's okay. It's not that good, but she's 33 years old. This is a finished product. She loves to move forward, which is big because Nunez is much better when she's going forward. She's not as good getting backed up. Don't get me wrong. I think her striking's okay, but she is very hittable on the feet, which is not good going against Nunez. Her cardio's okay, it checks out. But she's just physically slow. She's bigger. She hits kind of hard, but she's just physically slow out there. Like it's like in slow motion. But if she does end up on top somehow, she's heavy on top. She has a good ground game, heavy ground and pound. Like when she's on top of you, you're probably not getting back up. Her takedown defense isn't great, but I think that's also by design. She wants to be on the ground. She's not the greatest wrestler. If you take her down, she's fine. She's fine with that. Because if she gets on top of you, you're done. Like you are literally, and especially little itty bitty Nunez. Nunez will knock it up if she takes her down or gets on top. The problem is, I have no idea how the fuck she gets on top. She's not a good wrestler, nor is Nunez. Neither one's a great striker. This is messed up. But I think someone is going to get finished here. I don't hate the under 2.5 at plus money. It's probably the only way I look at this. If anything, it's dog or pass. I'll pick Chelsea Chandler. Um, you know what? It's plus 130 for Chandler, plus 110 for the under. I'll just take the under. I'll pick Chelsea Chandler, but the bet's going to be the under 2.5. I think that under hits, baby. Next fight of the night is an interesting one. I want to feel very, very confident, but there's something holding me back. We have Mike Davis at minus 305 going up against Natan Levy at plus 245. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 210. Under 2.5 and plus 160. Let's start with Mike Davis because he's the better fighter. He's good everywhere. This guy might be one of the most underrated fighters in the weight class. He's rocking a 69% takedown defense. I wish it was a little higher, but he has good striking. He has good wrestling. He throws a ton of volume. He has pretty decent jujitsu, good fight IQ. I've seen him wrestle against strikers. I've seen him strike against wrestlers. The dude does everything right. His cardio checks out. He has good cardio. Fusion Excel is an okay camp. It's not great. It's not bad. And he's fought a good schedule. And honestly, he only has 2 career losses, and they're to Sadiq Yusuf and Gilbert Burns up a weight class in his debut. So, and that was Gilbert Burns at 155. You look at Gilbert Burns now, imagine him at his real weight class back in the day. Gilbert Burns was a motherfucker to deal with. So, short notice against Gilbert Burns is an okay loss. And Sadiq Yusuf is a top 10 guy in the weight class right now. Those are his only 2 losses. Like, he's a good fighter. Like, this Davis dude is very, very slept on, and he's a great fighter. Problem is he's injury prone, man. He's so inactive. The dude fought in 2022 last, so 2 years ago. He fought Slavic Claus and he took him down and dominated Slavic Claus. Mason Jones was a pretty decent fighter in his own right. He took that O from Mason Jones back in 2021. He fought one time in 2019, so there's a 2-year gap there. And the Gilbert Burns fight was in 2019. So since he's been in the UFC, he fought twice in 2019, once in 21, and once in 22, and now it's going to be another 2-year gap in 24. He's not super old. He's only 31 years old, but his prime years, he's leaving his prime. He keeps getting hurt. His body is failing him. He's a great fighter, but his body is just physically failing him. On the other side, we had the opposite. This guy's body is doing wonders for him, and it's on Levy, but he physically is not. But he personally is not that great. He's at 32 years old, so this is the finished product. He's also at Syndicate. He has okay striking. His jujitsu's okay, and his wrestling's okay. He's a little bit of a generalist. Problem is, he has 41% takedown defense, so you can get him down if you want him to. Mike Davis is the better wrestler. Jiu-jitsu wise, he has a ton of submissions on his record, but they're against nobodies. He's fighting guys that are he's submitting guys that are 5-3, 1-0, 3-3, 2-1, 0-0. He went to decision against Mike Breeden. That's not a good look. Went to decision against Gennaro Valdez. That's not a good look. Like these are guys that are going out there and getting finished by other people, and you're going to decision with them. Part of the reason is because he is built like an absolute freight train. But it's all for appearance. He has no power. I don't think he has any knockouts on his record. He has zero knockouts, all decision and submission. Look at this dude who is predominantly a striker, zero knockouts. It's all talk. And the worst part of his game is his cardio. Zero cardio. He gasses out in every single fight. Hoffa Garcia fight, he looked so sloppy. Mike Breeden fight was he barely got through it, and Gennaro Valdez was a live dog against him, and that's scary to say. He looked okay. He tries to rely on his wrestling when he gets tired, and he will lay there and just hold you down. No volume. He doesn't throw any ground and pound. He just physically holds you down in order to catch his breath because he's so tired. Mike Davis, one of his best games is his cardio and his wrestling and his striking. So like Natan Levy's screwed unless Mike Davis's body gives up on him. If the fight doesn't happen or it just gives up in him mid-fight, I could see that happening at some point. His legs, his knees, he's one of these guys where like his just knees are not there. His back, his knees, he's always injured. He always has injuries. Always happening in the gym. I am petrified at a minus 305. It could happen in the octagon. But it hasn't done it yet, knock on wood. So let's hope it doesn't start now. So the pick is gonna be Mike Davis. The bet is gonna be Mike Davis. I think he dominates. Next fight of the night, we have Gerald Mearshart at minus 240 going up against Brian Bam Bam Barberina at plus 195. Over under at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 115. Under 2.5 is minus 145. Let's start with Mearshart because I feel weird saying that he's a favorite, a minus 240 favorite. World class jiu-jitsu, very, very good on the ground. That's about it. The striking's gotten better over the years, but it's not great. He's 36 years old. Um, no, he's gonna have a 5.5 inch reach advantage here, which is nice. But he can't really wrestle, so it's very hard for him to use his jujitsu. Biggest problem with him is that he's chinny and he slows down. Again, those are the two things I hate. He has both. He's very chinny. Again, Hamzat knocked him out in one punch. We saw Joe Pfeiffer one punch him, Christoph Jocko, no. Ian Heinisch one punched him. Like these are all in the first round. I don't know, man. The dude is very, very, very chinny. And he has bad cardio. He doesn't gas out. He just slows down in his fights. Granted, he's fought great guys: Thiago Santos, Jack Hermanson, Kevin Holland, Joe Pfeiffer, Trevin Giles, Eric Anders back in the day. Ian Hein, not Ian Heinisch, Hamzat. Christoph Jago wasn't bad, man. Like he's fought Magomed Muradov. Like he's fought really, really, really good fighters. He's just another one of these guys where he has a niche. He's a great jujitsu practitioner, but he, like Filo, he can't really wrestle to get you there. He has to end up on the ground somehow. And all of these wins, he's always losing. He's a very slow starter. His opponent has a tendency to gas out from whooping his ass on the feet, and then they get tired, and then he snatches up a guillotine or finds some sort of submission. Over and over and over again, you beat his ass to the point where you're tired, and then he taps you out. That's his whole thing. Bam Bam Barberina. I don't know what's going on here. First and foremost, he's a lightweight. He's fought at lightweight a few times. Said it's been a struggle, so he's been fighting at 170. And his last fight and this one are both at 185. So again, this is 30 pounds more than what he is supposed to be fighting at. He has okay cardio. It's pretty good, honestly. Even at 185, his cardio looked fine in his last match against Makhmed Muradov. It's actually one of his best part of the game. He's pretty decent striking. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he's pretty good on the feet. He's fought a pretty good schedule of competition himself. Again, that's all at welterweight, but he's fought the former champion Kamaru Usman. He's fought, well, Matt Brown was old when he fought him. He fought Vicente Luque, Randy Brown, Leon Edwards, the current champ, Colby Covington. Like he's fought really like the cream of the crop at 170, and he gives him a go, man. He's pretty generally durable. The biggest problem with him, he's a good striker. He's very durable. He's fought a good competition. Problem is, he has 49% takedown defense. That's terrible. And his jiu-jitsu's god awful. He gets subbed all the time. So that's not good against going against John Mearshart, who has the most subs in UFC middleweight history. But the thing is, Mearshart can't wrestle. But Barberina can't stuff a takedown. So what is going to happen here? It's that immovable force against the unstoppable object. Is Mearshart going to get the takedown and sub him, or is Barberina going to be able to just sprawl and brawl his way? I have no fucking clue. I think Mearshart should win, especially because of how much bigger he is. Again, Barberina is a lightweight that is fighting at middleweight. This is a big difference here. But Mearshirt's so fucking slow. I think even Fat Bam Bam is going to be faster than Gerald. He might be the slowest fighter I've ever seen in my life. Everything's very, very slow, methodical, and just slow motion. Like he's just physically not a fast man. And I think a smaller guy that might benefit Brian, but Gerald being the bigger guy is going to benefit him with the takedown. So I'm back to the standstill. What do? You take the plus money, plus 200 on Bam Bam. You could do that. Or you can take the over 2.5. I really don't hate that look, especially at plus 115. That's the one I feel most comfortable in. So if you want to put your balls on the table, Bam Bam at plus 200, I think it's live. If you want a good value bet, over 2.5 for sure at plus 115. Those are the two I'm looking at. So the pick is going to be Bam Bam. The bet's going to be the over. Yeah, he doesn't hit hard. The over 2.5. All right, next fight of the night is a rematch that absolutely no one asked for. We have Pani Kianzad at plus 180 going up against Macy Chase on at minus 220, over 2.5 minus 375, under 2.5 at plus 270. Let's start with Pani because she's one dimensional. She's just a striker. She's a pretty decent boxer, in all honesty. She's good. She has good striking. She has good volume. And she has good cardio. But her wrestling's not great. She's sporting a 71% takedown defense, but a lot of people just aren't shooting on her, especially because of who she's fighting. But the few takedowns I did see her get taken down with, it wasn't very difficult. Like her takedown defense is not good. And her jiu-jitsu is not that great. In fact, in the first matchup here against Macy, she was submitted. So to have bad takedown defense and suspect jiu-jitsu is not a good combo. Again, she might be the better striker, in all honesty. She's probably the faster striker. She's really good. She really struggles in the clinch. That's the other thing too. She needs space. If you get her out in space and she's just jabbing away at you, she's a good striker. If you pressure this girl and take her down, or you pressure her and just put her up against a cage, she's terrible at like flipping position on those 50-50 spots. She is terrible at flipping positions. She would just stay against the cage. For some reason, they gave her Raquel Pennington, where that's all she does is fight against the cage. That was a mistake. But even this Ketlin Vieira does the same thing. But even the first fight against Macy Chase she didn't even really take her down until she rocked her. But she just had her up against the cage and was just controlling the fight because Panny can't get her back off of the cage. On the other side, Macy is someone that I've been more impressed with as of late. As a fighter overall, her striking seems to be getting worse somehow. But her wrestling is getting better. It's like she stopped training her striking and she only trains wrestling in the gym. And it's gotten better. I mean, she took down Norma Dumont 6 times. That's very, very hard to do. She took down Irene Aldana a bunch. She's a good fighter, man. She's okay on the feet. She's an okay wrestler. Her jujitsu is pretty decent. She will slap on that body triangle with those long ass legs. She's 5'11 at 135. You have to pay attention to that. So again, she's an okay striker, but she'll mix in the wrestling very fluently. Good jujitsu. But she does slow down in her fights. She'll have an 8-inch reach advantage, which is nice. But you got to watch these weigh-ins, man. She has perpetually struggled to make 135. They're getting rid of the 145 weight class very, very soon. So that's going to make her go down to 135. She's trying again. I don't know, man. She looked good at 135 against Irene Aldana. I'll give her that. Irene Aldana fought for the title after beating Macy. Like she was whooping Aldana's ass, and then she caught an up kick to the ribs. It was a fluky finish. I was on Aldana that night, so I'll take it. But outside of that, she should have won that fight. She was up on the scorecards, and Aldana is a former title challenger. Yeah, much better boxer than Panny Cayenza. So the pick is going to be Macy. The bet's going to be Macy to do it again at minus 240. But please watch the weigh-ins. Next fight of the night. We have actually the best fight of the night, to be honest with you. We have Christian Rodriguez at plus 165 going up against Isaac Delgarian at minus 200. Over 2.5 is minus 125. Under 2.5 at minus 105. Let's start with our boy C-Rod. He's been paper printing machine for us. He's always the dog for some godforsaken reason, and he keeps winning. I mean, he's 26 years old and he's only getting better. He has good striking. He has good jujitsu. He has 70% takedown defense and a legit 70 because he's fought some good wrestlers. He has really good cardio. He's fought a pretty decent schedule. He's beat some of the guys on the card, on this very card. He has one career loss, and that's to Jonathan Pierce. And Jonathan Pierce is a good fighter. And also he took that on 10 days notice up a weight class. So yeah, that's a perfectly fine loss to have. And he gave Jonathan Pierce hell. He almost subbed him multiple times. His choke game is real, but he has some anaconda chokes, some guillotines, anything. If he snatches your neck, you are in some trouble. But ultimately, he wants to strike. He's a really good striker. He has some pop in his hands. Like, all in all, this dude is going to be a problem. At 26 years old, he's already showing the potential. And if he keeps getting better, we're talking top 10 level good. Like, this kid is the real deal. At 135. The only problem I have with Christian Rodriguez is his weigh-ins. He can't make 135. His last fight against Cameron Simon, he weighed in at 140. Fight before that against Raul Rosas Jr., he weighed in at 137. He perpetually misses weight. And the UFC got pissed off, and they're making him go up to 145. Now that's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting because Isaac Dalgarian is not a small 145er. He's pretty short and compact, but he's just big, like overall a big guy. He's 6-0. He's only 27 years old. Okay. So we have 26 against 27. World-class wrestling. Like this guy is really, really, really good on the ground or wrestling. And vicious ground and pound. The dude hits like an absolute truck. And if he doesn't want to just put your lights out on the ground, he'll also tap you out. The interesting thing with him is that all of his fights, he's 6-0, all of his fights, even the fight in his UFC debut against Francis Marshall, ended in the first round. We've never seen him in the second round. We have no idea what it looks like. He also had 4 fights on the amateur scene that I wanted to go back and check. Also, all ended in the first round. The dude, amateur and pro career, has never seen the second round. The dude is the definition of a finisher. Again, he has he's known for his wrestling, which is the best base you could have. And he has good ground and pound and good jujitsu. The thing with him is people are going to speculate that he has bad cardio because of this. No, that's not necessarily true. I have no idea what his cardio is like, but I do know he trains at Factory X Muay Thai with my boy Raw Dog. And at the end of the day, if you train at Factory X, you're training in elevation. If you're training in elevation, you generally have pretty good cardio. The other thing I would say is that we don't really know what his striking is like either. He throws some heavy leg kicks and then he usually goes for the takedown right away. But he's training at a striking heavy camp. So, I mean, it literally says Muay Thai, which is a form of striking, in the camp's name. I'm sure he's not a fish out of water on the feet. I'm sure he doesn't go to a striking based camp and just wrestle. Like, although that's his bread and butter, that's what he's going to default do. And that's what's been working for him. Yes, he's going to go out there and wrestle Christian Rodriguez. But it doesn't mean that if Christian sprawls that he's toast and he's just going to get knocked out. It doesn't mean that he's going to gas out if he makes it to the second round. We have no idea. We are betting on the unknown, and I love betting on the unknown. He was like a plus 200 dog against Francis Marshall. I already bet the unknown and came out on top. I love Isaac Dalgarian, but he's the favorite. I don't want to put the unknown at minus 200. That's insane. What we do know is C-Rod. We saw him multiple times. We've seen him 4 or 5 times in the UFC, and he has fought wrestlers before. He fought Tracy Cortez, little brother, Junior Cortez, who is a really, really, really good wrestler, and he was able to sprawl and brawl. We saw him fight Raul Rosas Jr., who's a really, really good wrestler. He got him down. He's really good on the ground. He was able to try to for some submissions, but Christian survived and then ultimately took over the fight. Like we've seen this time and time again, and they're giving me C Rod at plus 165 again. They're giving me more plus money on the guy that continually wins as an underdog. I know it's up a weight class. That's the only unknown part here. That's the part that scares me a lot. But I love Isaac Delgarian. I will bet him again in the future, just not here. I got to go with the dog, and I got to hope the C Rod keeps winning me money. The pick's going to be C Rod. The bet's going to be C Rod. Next fight of the night, we can not spend too much time on because it should be a massacre. We have Kennedy Njoku at minus 535 going up against OSP at plus 400, Ovent St. Preux. Over 1.5 is plus 110, under 1.5 at minus 140. I'll be honest with you, I had no idea OSP was still in the UFC. OSP has okay power, I'll give him that. He has okay jujitsu. I know he has the Von Flue choke is like his biggest thing. But you get that from takedowns, and Kennedy's not going to shoot a takedown. So, and OSP can't really wrestle anymore. He also doesn't have a chin anymore. He also doesn't have cardio anymore. He's also doesn't have any volume anymore. He's very hittable on the feet. He's rocking a 66% takedown defense. There's nothing good against OSP. They say the last thing to go is your power. That's all he has left. Like the dude barely beat Shogun Rua by split decision, and that was 2 years ago. Shogun, that was like 40-year-old Shogun. He barely won a split against him. And you want to talk about a decline in chin? Jamal Hill, world champ. I get it. Good. But he's not really a potent power puncher. He took him out easily. Tanner Bozer only has like one career knockout. It's OSP. Went out there, finished him easily. We just saw Philippe Lenz last week. He hits decently hard, but he's not just out there starching everyone outside of OSP. Knocked him out in 40 seconds. Like he just bum rushed him. If you go out there and you just touch OSP, he's going out. Why? Because he's fucking 40. He needs to retire. The other side, we have Kennedy Njoku. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you touch his chin, he might fucking go out too. That's the worst part about his game is his chin. He's very chinny, so that's hard to trust at minus 535. But he has good striking. He has sneaky good jujitsu now. He's gonna have a 3-inch reach advantage, 80% takedown defense, good cardio. Like the dude has advantages striking, jujitsu wise, and wrestling. Like he is the complete package here in this matchup. Just like Mike Davis, he's better literally everywhere. And he's fighting a 40-year-old man. Logic says he goes out there, he's minus 535, he starches him in under a minute. The problem is if he gets touched, the dude has no chin. We saw him get knocked out against Dustin Jacoby, who's not really a power puncher. We saw him get knocked out against Da Un Jung with standing elbows. We saw him get dropped by whatchamacallit, Devin Clark. We saw him who's not a power puncher. We just saw him a few weeks ago. We saw him get dropped by Ian Cutelaba. We saw him last week. He's not a power puncher. We saw him get dropped against Carlos Ulberg multiple times in the first round before he gassed out. And ultimately, Kennedy was able to submit him. So I just named like 6 fights where I saw this dude on the ground. I don't like it. Dude cannot take a punch. OSP probably still has the power, but he's so fucking slow at 40 years old. I think Kennedy will at least see it coming. He'll be able to get out the way. And then when Kennedy touches OSP, OSP is going to go out. So it's a matter of who hits who first. If you want to just say fuck it and take the under 1.5, it's better odds, honestly. That's probably what I'd do. The pick is going to be Kennedy. That's going to be under 1.5. Hell, even take a look at the 2.5. If the under 1.5 is minus 140, under 2.5 is probably still going to be better than the minus 530 for Kennedy. So the pick is going to be Kennedy. The bet's going to be the under. If you want to go 1.5, that's fine. Then that takes us to one of the worst co-main event of the evenings ever. Don't get me wrong, I love the fight. I just don't like the placement of it. We have Brian Battle at minus 175 going up against Angelusa at plus 145. Over 2.5 is minus 215. Under 2.5 at plus 165. Let's start with Angelusa. He's someone that I keep betting, and he's kind of 50-50 with me. I bet him on Contender Series against Jack Della. I wish I knew. I fucked around and found out. But at the end of the day, he has good striking. He has high volume. Sneaky good wrestling out of nowhere. He's a Swedish kickboxer who found out his short, stocky build is very good for wrestling, and now he's a takedown machine. You kind of think of, I'm not comparing him to him, but you think about how GSP had a good wrestling build. He came in as a striker, and then when he needed to, he wrestled a ton and got really, really good at it. Kind of what's going on with Angelusa right now. So again, good striking, high volume, good wrestling, okay jujitsu. He's a little hittable, but a lot of that is from that Jack Della fight, stats wise. Um, He's fast. He's freakishly fast. He's really strong. He loves to apply pressure. Like this guy does everything good. He's in your face, and he's either going to knock you out or he's going to take you down and control you. He trains at Killcliff FC over with Gilbert Burns. Really good fight camp, and always comes in with a really good game plan. I love Angelusa. I think he's a really good fighter. But I did see him struggle a little bit with taller fighters. Jack Della's a little lanky, and he was able to just jab his face off. We saw Munir Lazez is not good, but he's lanky and was able to jab his face off. He doesn't like that. He does not like that at all. Now, don't get me wrong. He addressed that in the Reese McKee fight. Reese McKee is really, really lanky, probably the lankiest fighter he's ever fought. But he implemented a takedown game and he took him down 6 times. Blast doubles, timed it very well. So he did make adjustments and he finally conquered his demon of the tall fighter. But he's got another one here in Brian Battle. Brian Battle is a middleweight who stars himself to make 170. I don't know why or how he keeps doing this. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here. He himself is good striking. He probably has the better jiu-jitsu. He's pretty decent on the ground, tapping out people like Andre Petrowski. His wrestling's terrible, though. He can't offensively wrestle, and he has a 45% takedown defense. That's an issue, especially against the new wrestle heavy Andalusa. He has really good cardio, even at 170, but I will say his durability is starting to go at 170. I saw AJ Fletcher rock him very, very badly. Gabe Green didn't get a chance. Renat Fakhretdinov rocked him pretty badly. It's like the more he's at 170, the chinnier he gets because there's no fucking water in his brain because he's cutting too much weight. He's a middleweight. He will do so much better at 185. I mean, we just saw this with Michel Pereira last week. He can make 170. He can do well at 170. He is explosive at 185. He's so much healthier, so much better. Brian Battle just needs to do the same thing. Please watch weigh-in because he even has missed 170 before. The Gabe Green fight in his hometown, he did miss weight, so keep an eye on that. He throws pretty decent volume himself. But at the end of the day, I think Battle has a reach advantage, but Lusa's the faster, more proficient striker. And I think Lusa's going to want to implement his wrestle heavy game plan. He always comes in with good game plans, the appropriate game plan. And Brian Battle is a 45% takedown defense. I think that is the game plan. And I think he catches him. So the pick is going to be Lusa. The bet's going to be Lusa. I could see this even being a split itself, but or just Lusa by decision. Fuck it. Don't get too greedy. Lusa's plus 145. The pick is Lusa. The bet is Lusa. And that takes us to the main event of the evening. If you haven't already, what have you been doing? Hit the subscribe, hit the like button, share the podcast for fuck's sake. Give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us. We're taking over. Main event time. We're looking at Tuivasa at minus 125, going up against Marcin Tybura at plus 105. Over under set at 1.5 for this heavyweight bout. Over 1.5 minus 180, under 1.5 at plus 140. Let's start with Marcin Tybura. You can tell me if he's chinny or not, but he's like Curtis Blades or one of these guys that have been knocked out, but by the best of the best. Like Tom Aspinall knocked him out, the current champ. Alexander Volkov didn't, but he lost to him. Shamil was good back in the day. Sakai hits hard. Derek Lewis, the most knockouts in history. Like these are the guys knocking him out. So you can say he's chinny, or you can say he got knocked out by Tom Aspinall and Derek Lewis. Yeah, it happens. But he's that being said, he has a really good schedule. He has a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He has okay striking. It's not good, it's bad, or bad, it's serviceable. He has good cardio for the weight class. That's kind of the best part of his game, is the fact that he's a heavyweight that can go 5 rounds. His wrestling's not great. He'll try to implement it, but it looks better later on in the fight when his opponent's tired and he is not. Then he can use his wrestling games. His wrestling's okay. Jiu-jitsu, he's a black belt, but he prefers to just sit on top of you and ground and pound. He doesn't go for a lot of submissions at all, but it's nice to know that he has it in his back pocket. Biggest problem with him, again, is the fact that he has zero power, and he's just, I mean, I wouldn't say chinny, but you can put him out if you have power. Tai Tuivasa has power. That's an issue. That's about all Tai Tuivasa has. He has good striking with a ton of power. He has 54% takedown defense. His cardio has looked better as of late, but he's still slowing down in fights. I've never seen him outside of the third round. His jujitsu's non-existent, and he himself is a little hittable. So both these guys are a little hittable. Ty's a little more durable. I'll give him that. So he is a heavy power puncher who can put anyone out. Tybura's chinny, but Tybura has really, really good cardio, and he will wear on you and then break you later on in the fight. And Ty has bad cardio and bad takedown defense. So these guys are total opposites. Which is going to happen? I always go grappler over striker, but this is heavyweight, and heavyweight it only takes one, and it seems to happen a lot more that the striker catches the wrestler first. So I don't know, man. It really depends on how you feel about Marcin's chin. Can it hold up? He's 38 years old now. Ty is only 30. I don't know. I don't know. I want to say Ty. I'm gonna pick Ty, but I think it's gonna be one of those annoying ones where I'm gonna pick Tai Tuivasa. But if anything, I'm betting Marcin Tybura because he's the dog. You know what? What I'm really gonna do is -125 is a good number for Ty. I'm gonna put Ty in a whole bunch of parlays, and I am just going to hedge the shit out of all my parlays when they're still alive, and just hedge with Marcin at plus money. That's the only way to play this. I think it's a 50-50 fight. Tai Tuivasa in parlays, hedge with Marcin Tybura. And that is UFC Vegas 88. Again, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible card, but it's going to be a great, great, great card when we win all the money. Let's get it.